Hey everybody, welcome to the Connection Corner. I am Barb Nangle. I'm the community manager at Known Coworking. And in a couple moments, I'm going to welcome today's guest, Will Meikle, who is from the Danbury chapter of SCORE. We'll tell you all about what that means in a couple minutes. But before I do that, I want to take a couple minutes to tell you about Known. It's a dynamic co-working community to connect entrepreneurs across fields of expertise, endeavors, and experiences. We started as a co working space in downtown New Haven, and we're still the only co working space downtown. But we have developed into a multifaceted entrepreneur support organization. And as a reminder, Known Co-working has hourly, daily, and monthly plans for dedicated desks and offices, as well as for co-working. And we also have conference rooms and Zoom rooms available for rent for as little as 1 hour. If you'd like to know more about the space, feel free to send me an email. I can be reached at barb@knowncoworking.org. You can also follow us on Instagram or Facebook at NHVKnown, and you can DM us there if you'd like. One of the ways that we support entrepreneurs is through these virtual programs. So we've got this one, the Connection Corner. And we also have Digital Media Sync. You can catch replays of all of our shows for free on our website, nhvknown.com. It's under Known Live and Events. Digital Media Sync is your window to the digital world. It's hosted by Julia Gambale. She is the social media maven of Agents of Branding and knows about all things digital. She has something like 60 episodes with all kinds of incredible free trainings on lots of digital media. And then this show, The Connection Corner, is a place for entrepreneurs, creators, thinkers, and innovators to share either their own entrepreneurial journey or how they support entrepreneurs, especially those in the greater New Haven area. If you or anyone you know would like to be on either one of these shows, go ahead and send me an email. Again, it's barb@knowncoworking.com. Our purpose in both the physical and virtual space is to make connections between people. We're here to help people get connected, inspired, and known. And speaking of getting connected, I host weekly networking here at Known on Wednesdays. It's called Wind Down Wednesdays. So today, if you happen to be watching today and want to come on down between 3 and 5, it's basically like a happy hour. And I'm here to introduce you to whoever shows up. You never know who you're going to meet. We're at 139 Orange Street in downtown New Haven, and we're on the 4th floor. And without further ado, I would like to introduce Will. Welcome to Connection Corner, Will.
Thank you, Barb. Thank you, Barb. Nice to meet you. It's nice to be with you.
Yes, you too. And so I think maybe what we could do first is have you talk a little bit about SCORE as an organization, and then who you are and what your role is at SCORE, and then we'll get into talking about all things finances in your business. How does that sound?
Sounds great. And before I jump into that, I do want to put in a plug for Known. Having visited the space recently, it is absolutely fantastic, and the service that you provide to the business community and the entrepreneurs there in New Haven area is absolutely fantastic. So hats off to you guys.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for saying that. Appreciate it.
Yeah. So let me tell you a little bit about SCORE. So most people probably don't know about us. I think I'd like to consider us a hidden jewel. SCORE is the nation's largest volunteer business mentoring organization. There are 10,000 people across the country like myself who volunteer our time to help businesses either get started or grow, or if they're at the end of life, sell or retire out of their business. Whatever journey they want to go on, we are here to help them. Everything that we do is free, whether it is one-on-one mentoring with business experts and the business owners, or through educational programs, much like this one. You can take a wide range of activities at your leisure, either live or on demand. And we also have a number of resources in our website that you see there on screen that are accessible for business owners to leverage, whether it's business plans, financial templates, how to form a LLC in Connecticut, for example. All those resources are out there, and they're absolutely free for everyone's availability and use. Just a little more about SCORE. SCORE here in Connecticut, there are 6 chapters, and there are almost 400 people in the state of Connecticut who volunteer their time to do this. It's a great organization, one I'm proud to be a part of. I joined SCORE just about 2 years ago now. When I retired, I had spent 40 years in corporate America and in a finance and operations executive role. And I wanted to see if I could take that knowledge and skill that I've built up over years and give it back to the community in some way. And I had a colleague who had joined SCORE a year before me and absolutely loved it. And so I said, "Oh, let me join." And I jumped on board, and it has been a blast from day one. My current role is I happen to be the chapter chair of the Western Connecticut SCORE, which is in the greater Danbury area and reaches as far east as the Waterbury area. But also I was recently appointed as the Assistant District Director for the state of Connecticut. So we really have the opportunity to interface with all the organizations across the state. And I will point to you, since most of you are probably in the New Haven area, that we have a chapter based right in downtown New Haven. And it is very accessible for everybody to engage with. So that's a little bit about us and our background and a little bit about me.
Great, thank you so much. And just one thing I do want to say is Joe, who is, I believe he's the chair of the New Haven chapter,
Yes.
He was a guest a few months ago. So if people are watching this and they want to know a wide array of things that they can receive in terms of services from SCORE, Joe did a really good job of laying that out, and you can find that on our website, nhvknown.com, and it's under Known Live, the Connection Corner. So I was intrigued. I don't think I understood that your years of business were in the corporate world. Has it been hard to translate what you learned there to the world of entrepreneurship?
Well, it's a great question, and I tell people I had to get decorporified as I and realize that I was no longer going to be talking millions, thousands, and no, it was not that difficult.
Okay.
I think what I have found in my interactions with businesses is the skills are all transferable. We may not be talking about a multinational, billion-dollar engagement, but we're still the fundamentals are the same. And I find that what most people are looking for is guidance and advice on where to go to avoid pitfalls. And I think just backgrounds in business are really helpful. People that we've engaged with have a fabulous passion and insight and expertise in a particular area that they want to monetize and get people to separate some money out of their wallet for their idea.
Right.
And they don't often have, deep business backgrounds and experience, or in some cases legal or things of that nature. And so we can help round that out and maybe help them avoid some pitfalls, speed up their journey a bit.
Yeah. So maybe this is in your presentation. So if it is, we can skip over it. But when you just said pitfalls, I thought, well, what are some of the most common pitfalls that you see people having and ways to avoid them?
It's not in my presentation, so let me take it on.
Okay.
I think the biggest thing is an understanding that often to start a business, it many times, not all the time, but many times takes money, and sometimes people aren't in the best financial posture to access money if they don't have it themselves. And one of the things that most lenders, whether it's a bank, people who provide grants, or investors, they want to see a business plan, and most people haven't taken the time to sit down and write a business plan, which really is an overview of what your vision is and where you think you're going to go over the next few years. It's helpful. It's one of the things we can really help guide people along. And for me, I really like to have conversation with people early in their journey before they start putting any money on the table, so that they have a clear vision of what's it going to take. Because the worst thing that can happen is someone spends lots of money and then they realize, boy, there's not really a market for what I thought there was. And someone missed that. And I feel bad for that, for people who.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. Okay. So it sounds like having a business plan is a huge
I,
plus.
I think it's a huge
Yeah,
plus.
yeah.
Even if you don't need to go to a lender for money, I think
Mm-hmm.
it just puts some structure around your vision
Yeah,
and some a roadmap, so to speak, of where you're going to go and how
yeah,
you're going to get there.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like putting your goals out of your head and onto paper. And then when someone else can look at it, they can say, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Or like, did you think about this? Or something like that. But if it's just in your head, it's hard for people to really,
Exactly.
react to that. Wonderful.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Are there any other common pitfalls that come to mind that you want to share before we go into your presentation?
Um, well, some of them will come up in my one will actually come up in my financial presentation, and
Okay.
that is to make sure you keep track of your finances regularly. And if
Mm-hmm.
it's not a core expertise or something that you love to do, get somebody else to help you. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it's so important ultimately at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the year when you do your taxes and all those things to have all those records. And if
Mm-hmm.
you're doing it along the way, I think it will help you guide
Mm-hmm.
you how you're doing.
Yeah, yeah. I know for my business, so first of all, I have a history of financial problems in the past. I've cleaned them up and I did that a long time ago. But I still have, like, what I want to do is I want to bury my head in the sand with my finances. I don't, but that's my nature and I know that. So I hired someone and I call her my financial thought partner
Hmm.
because if I have just my thinking on my business, I'm in trouble.
Yeah,
I love the idea of having a financial thought partner because I can say, well, here's what I'm thinking. And she can be like, you're right on the money, or like, and it's just wonderful to have someone else who has the expertise. And like she gave me training on QuickBooks, and
hmm,
I'm actually about to start having them do my monthly bookkeeping. I was doing it myself and I'm ready to pass it on to them. But I met with her on a regular basis to kind of train me up because I was like, I don't want to hand it over to you until I know how it works.
exactly.
If I don't understand it, when you're telling me stuff, I'll be like, what are you talking about? But now that I get it, I mean, I still feel like, there's obviously more to learn, but I will be having like consistent meetings with her, but the responsibility for the day-to-day stuff is going to be on her. And I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, I think that's great, Barbie. I think it's a great example, and
Yeah.
it's not a full-time job. You're not hiring a
No,
full-time
right.
financial person.
Right.
It's a part-time role for most
Right.
businesses, you know?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And then as my business grows, if I need her to expand the work, then I can do that. But I don't need to hire her on to work, full time for my
Exactly.
agency. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. Well, are you ready to start your presentation then?
Sure, that'd be great. That'd be
I'm
great.
gonna take the banners off while you're doing that. If you want to go, okay, I'm ready. I need to share the screen. There we go. Okay, so take it away, Bill.
Super. Thank you very much, Barb. So, good afternoon, everybody, and hopefully that overview was helpful for you. And at the end, I'll show you a little bit more of how to get in contact with us if you want to look for some advice and support along your business. But what I wanted to spend a few minutes on today was walking you through a module that I created in conjunction with some of our business partner organizations at the Small Business Administration. To really talk about financial management for small businesses. It is a fundamental thing that I think is important. Obviously, as you heard, my background is in finance, 40 years, so I'm a little biased towards it, but I think it's a fundamental area that people, regardless of whether you're starting a business or an existing business, you need to have an understanding of. So, what I'll walk through is some of the benefits of that. Then, to the point we were just talking about, the vision of having a budget so you know where you're going, the importance of bookkeeping and having somebody, whether it's you, somebody else, or a software application like QuickBooks, handle that bookkeeping aspect for you. Then some of our common financial statements, and then lastly, what is needed if you need financing. It's not just walk in the door and say I need money and they give it to you. You need to do a little homework ahead of time. So I'm going to walk through this at a little bit of a clip. If you do have questions, please put them in the comments portion of the screen, and we'll try to get to them. Or if you have anything later, Barb will put up at some point my email address. You're more than welcome to reach out to me directly. So let's talk a little bit about the benefits of financial management. So for me, it's all around providing you the business owner the information you need to make good decisions. I think it's important that people and businesses understand their profitability. They have a vision of where they're going to forecast growth in the future, because it helps them make decisions on, geez, can I invest in a new product? Can I invest in a new market to expand my company's reach? Or if I want to diversify into different areas, a whole different product set, it will give you information that will be helpful for that. And lastly, we'll talk about at the end is it will help prepare you for financing. You will need a set of financial documents when you go ask a bank, an investor, or someone for capital. They're going to look for financial statements to support that discussion. So for me, the first place to start, we talked about the criticality of a business plan, complementary with the business plan, which is a narrative description of your business, the vision of where you're going, how you're going to get there. But what complements that is a budget or a financial forecast of where you see the business in the next 12, 24, or 36 months. It really allows you to organize all your income and expenses in a logical way that you will track against over time. And it will be a guide to give you information that, am I on track or off track, so that you can take corrective action if it's not coming out the way you want. Before you get to the end of the year and you go, oh my God, I didn't make any money. You should know that month after month, and you can take, fine tune the knobs on your business a little bit and maybe cut back in an area, or maybe expand further if some product is really taking off. You really want to go hard on that product. So it's all around providing information ongoing against the goal that you set called the budget. The second thing we talked about was bookkeeping. So, I know most businesses that I've interacted with, they want to start a business or have started a business because they have an expertise in an area, a passion for a certain topic. Maybe it's a restaurant business or clothing, whatever the case may be. They probably didn't come into it because they're good financial people who love crawling through numbers and analytics and detail like me. But you need that. You need that. You shouldn't operate your business with that old shoebox in the corner filled with receipts. Best case, you should have that, but at worst case, you should have that. But in a more logical sense, you should have something over time that's much more complementary. You can do that through things like software applications like QuickBooks. They will help you organize all that information, but you need to make time for it in your week, and you need to capture the information, whether it's income or what you're spending money on. And you're going to need that for when you do your taxes later in the year, ultimately when you retire or when you go to sell the business. You're going to need those information to demonstrate that this was a legitimate going concern business that has value. You don't have to do this yourself. As Barb and I were just talking about, you can get people. There are tons of bookkeeping companies out there that you can pay for by the hour. I have many clients who said, I'm starting a landscaping business, and I don't want to come home after working 10 hours out in the sun all day and sit down and fill out all this paperwork. So I said, then why don't you hire a bookkeeper? And they found that they paid somebody 4 hours a week, and they did all that paperwork for them, gave them information on a regular basis of how their business was doing. And it really helped them at the end of the year when they did their taxes. So if you don't want to do it yourself, please engage someone to help you along that journey. Barb, you saying something? You're on mute.
I forgot I'm muted. Yeah, I did want to step in and say something here that I know sometimes people think, especially if they're capable of doing it themselves, that why should I pay somebody to do it? Think about the amount of time and energy and effort that you would have to put towards bookkeeping. You have to, if we use a landscaping example, you got to come home at the end of your day of working and organize all of your papers and keep track of them and all that kind of stuff. it probably would take you more than 4 hours a week to do something that would take a bookkeeper 4 hours a week to do. And let's be clear, not every bookkeeper is going to take 4 hours a week based on your business.
Nope.
And then also, like thinking, how much per hour do I value my time? If I can pay somebody at a rate that's less than what I value for my time, absolutely makes sense for me to do that, because I'd rather be working in my zone of genius in my business than putting my efforts towards bookkeeping. So I think this is, a really important point to consider, because I know a lot of entrepreneurs, especially in the beginning, feel like, oh, I can't pay people, but it's like, well, maybe you can't not pay people. Just look at the numbers.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're all likely to pay for a lawyer, maybe a tax expert at the end of the year. This is just another one of those resources that, sometimes it's the right thing to do and keep you out of hot water. So yeah, absolutely agree with Dar. So good. So I talked about some of these things. Either get a piece of software like QuickBooks or some of the other ones that are out there, or get a bookkeeper. That's absolutely fundamental. Just get organized and get somebody to do it. The other thing I think is really, really important is set up business bank accounts, checking account, savings account, credit card. What you don't want to do is mix your personal life and your business life. You don't have to be a corporation to have separate things. You can be a sole business or a LLC, but keep that information separately. It is just important to not mix those things, because in some businesses where there may be a big liability, you want to have that dividing line between your personal and your business life to protect yourself liability-wise. Keeping your financial separate is just another extension of that. And make sure you're keeping track of all this stuff timely, regularly, and keeping it up to date. And use the financial statements, which we'll talk about in a few slides here, to understand what's going on in your business. So 3 primary financial statements that you should have at your fingertips, and that your bookkeeper or your software program will provide to you. One that is most important to most people is the profit and loss statement. How much income am I making? How much revenue or income do I bring in? And how much are all the expenses that I incur? And at the end of the day, am I making a profit or am I losing money? And by the way, it's not uncommon in the early days of a business to lose money. It takes time to ramp up people understanding you, that where you are, where you exist, what you have to offer. And so it's not uncommon to lose money in the early days of a business. But at some point, you need to turn that corner and start to generate profit.
Question for you, Bill. Like, how long of losing money should you say, like, okay, this isn't working?
Well, for me, I like to think, it's okay to potentially have in your mind that you may lose money in the first year.
Okay.
But hopefully after that, you will start to either break even or make some amount.
Okay, good.
You may not make tons, but you need to start making some. Otherwise, you're just draining yourself regularly if it takes longer than that.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Yeah. The second one is a cash flow projection. So how much cash am I bringing in? Think of this as your checking account. How much stuff's coming into my checking account? How much is going out? And do I have enough stuff coming in to pay all the bills that I need to pay at the end of the month or the end of the year? Particularly if you have a payroll, that's the one that you're going to want to keep track of. You need to have enough money in the bank to pay your employees at the end of the period. Many business owners, I have one client now that hasn't paid themselves in 6 months. But they went in knowing that there were the early days, they probably weren't going to want to take any money out of the business, but they wanted to get it up and running. But eventually you started a business to be able to take money out of it. So a cash flow projection gives you an idea of what's coming in and what's going out, so that you can understand where the cash is. And lastly, a balance sheet just basically tells what are all the assets that you own, whether it's a truck, a vehicle, a building, and what are all the liabilities of things that I owe to other people, whether it's for supplies, food, whatever the case may be. A balance sheet just gives you an understanding, and it's a snapshot in time of what the business is valued at. Okay. Let me just walk through some of these. So profit and loss statement, measures revenue and expense over a period of time, typically a month, a quarter, or a year. It tells you if you're making money, and really gives you an ability to determine, am I going to be able to grow, repay my debt if I took out a loan, and support your ongoing lifestyle that you want to have and the reason you formed the business. The cash flow, as I said, projects the cash coming in and out of your company. And if you look at it forward looking, it gives you an idea, do I project that I'm going to have enough cash in the future to do the things that I want to do in the business? If not, it may trigger you to say, now maybe I need to go to the bank and take out a loan to help me get over that period of time, whether I needed to buy a new piece of equipment, or I'm having a little bit of a dip in the business that I need to ride through. The cash flow will give you an indication, am I going to have enough cash to pay the bills, or am I going to go need to ask somebody for some help through a short period of time? And then the last is a balance sheet. As I said, it's a snapshot of the business at a point in time. It lists what you own, known as assets, and what you owe other people, known as liabilities. And you can think of this almost as your mortgage in your house. I mean, your assets is the house itself, and the value of the house you purchased. The liability is, what you owe the bank. And the difference between that is the equity, meaning how much value do you already have in this business? And that's what on this chart is shown as owner's equity. So that I find people can translate that when they think about their own mortgage situation. And then financing. So if you are at a point where you need financing, whether it's to start up, whether it's to operate, or whether it's to grow your business, there's two primary ways you can get financing. And that one is equity and one is debt. Equity means you are bringing an investor in to work alongside you or take part ownership in your company, versus debt is typically going to a bank or a lending institution and taking out a loan or a mortgage that you pay back over time. Equity can be great. It may not have a payback period over time. But one thing you need to understand is you're probably giving up a little control of your company. If you give somebody a 20% investment in your company, the 20% of whatever you do in the future is going to be going to them, depending on how you structure that. But someone who has a vision and is willing to give you cash to help you get started, that may be worth it to you to bring them in and help minimize your risk as a business owner. And then you can get short-term and long-term financing, typically known as working capital is short-term. I need a little bit to get me over the next couple of months because my income isn't quite as much as my expenses are. So I need a little bridge loan to help me through that period. Or if I'm going to go out and buy a big piece of fixed asset or an equipment, a new truck, a new piece of equipment, new building, that's something I'm going to buy and I'm going to pay out over the next 5, 10, or 30 years. So those are the typical things from a financing point of view. What are you going to need to go get a loan, or even an investor? People are going to want to see your business plan, as we talked about at the beginning. They're also going to want to see a view of what do you think the financials look like over the next 2 or 3 years. They want to know that you can afford what you're asking for from a loan point of view. They're going to want to see your financial statements. They will check your credit report, which obviously sometimes can be a hindrance to people depending on what's gone on in your past. So if you're not sure, you might want to have your credit report checked before you even start the process. And if your early indications are it's not up to par, you may need to step back and work on that before you can be able to get a loan. And you need to understand what you have to put up from a collateral point of view, as well as how much you're putting in. Most lending institutions and investors want to know that you are personally invested. So typically, if you need, $50,000 to buy something, typically speaking, they're going to say, well, I need you to make sure you're putting in the first 10,000, and then we'll give you the money or the loan for the balance of that. And look around. There are tons of research financing options in the market that you can consider. And look around. I always say start with your bank, either where you bank personally or where your now business banking is. They are the best first place to start because you already have a relationship with them, and they're more likely to help you. And some banks are more small business friendly than others. So it's worth doing a little bit of research to understand that ahead of time. So just to recap, and then I'll pause and see if there are any questions. Start with a budget, understand where you're going, be sure to have a solid bookkeeping foundation underneath your business, whether it's you personally, whether it's a piece of software, or whether it's a hired bookkeeper. And utilize your financial statements, profit and loss statements, cash flow statements, and balance sheets to help you understand. And before you go ahead for borrowing, and I would say before you start your business, develop a business plan, understand the fundamentals of your credit situation, how much money you're putting into the business, and what do you think you'll actually be able to repay over time if the business takes off the way you are anticipating that it will. Okay, so hopefully that's helpful, and just a little bit of an overview of the importance of financial management. If anything comes to mind that we don't answer here that you think about later, you can see the email on the bottom of the screen. Please feel free to reach out to me, and I'll help you or get you pointed to a mentor in your geographical area that can help you along that journey.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Will. So what came to mind at the end there when you were talking about getting financing is CEDF, the Community Economic Development Fund here in Connecticut. So Known has just created a joint venture with them. For those of you who don't know, Known has a BIPOC business accelerator called the Knownpreneurs Program. Applications are actually open right now. I think they close on August 15th. And the joint venture with CEDF is such that when you graduate from the Knownpreneurs Program, provided you are eligible, and you should be if you've graduated from the program, then you are eligible for a $10,000 line of credit through CEDF. And one of the cool things about CEDF is they actually cater to people who don't necessarily have the best financial standing. So maybe they don't have much of a credit history, or maybe they don't have the highest credit score, but they do a lot of lending to atypical folks.
Right.
So, as Will mentioned, there's all kinds of different financing options out there. So I just wanted to give a plug for that. Thank you. That was incredibly thorough, Bill. I mean, you covered so much stuff, and there's no questions. It looks like we might only have one live viewer. I haven't gotten any questions in, but I feel like you preempted a lot of questions by your very thorough presentation. So, but I will say, if people are watching the recording, they can also put questions in the comments of the recording, and we will get them to Will, or you can go ahead and send the email directly to Will. So, Will, I'm going to take you off screen if you wouldn't mind sticking around for a moment while I wrap things up.
Absolutely, sure.
That would be great. So thank you again for your time. I appreciate you. All right. And I will thank everybody for joining us today. Again, Barb Nangle, the community manager at Known Coworking. And I hope you will come and visit us. We're at 139 Orange Street in downtown New Haven. And every Wednesday we have Wind Down Wednesday networking. So that's today, 3 to 5 p.m. And it's my job here as the community manager to connect people to the people and the organizations and resources they want and need to meet. So even if you can't come here, go ahead and send me an email and let me know who you're trying to connect with, and I'll do the best that I can. Again, it's barb@knowncoworking.com. Thanks again for your time. Enjoy the day.